In the past 2 years, we've been able to generate about 2,000 letters to the Marine Stewardship Council. We've been able to get 2,000 letters off to the cabinet. And we're seeing that Alaskan interceptions are now the #1 issue at the Pacific Salmon Treaty Commission for our commissioners. This is a huge sea change. We're also seeing our senior politicians in BC publicly standing behind us. Again, this is a massive change from where we were a couple of years ago. And now the Marine Stewardship Council, which is responsible for providing certifications that give some of these Alaskan fisheries cover in the marketplace. We put this issue on the table in front of them. They're now having to reconsider whether or not Alaskan fisheries are actually sustainable. So is this enough? Alaska is a global seafood powerhouse. They generate over 15 billion US dollars in economic activity each year. And at the moment, there's no incentive for them to come to the negotiating table. Canada no longer has the leverage that we used to have. We used to be able to reduce their allocation of sockeye, but as our populations have decreased, that is no longer on the table for us. So we don't have the leverage at the treaty table. So we're having to look out at Alaska's market for options to get their attention. And Alaska's facing some headwinds out there in the world. We've seen this with the court decisions. We've seen this with the collapse in salmon prices, and we've seen some pretty shocking things happen out in their other fisheries. So we think at this time, Alaska is vulnerable, and this might be a good opportunity for us to reach their decision makers. So I'm going to use the District 104 fishery in the Southeast that Kate has given you a lot of details about as an example, because that District 104 fishery, it is a good example of where they're vulnerable. They're facing intense scrutiny here. They're intercepting south migrating stocks, but it's actually a fishery that's dominated by wealthy vessel owners from Seattle. And the total landed catch value, I'm estimating it here for sort of an average year, $30 million is a rounding error in terms of the total value for their fishery. So what were to happen if we were to remove some of these obstacles? And what were to happen if Alaska was just to move the 50 odd boats or so that fish on the outside waters to the inside? We'd see a lot of the problems go away. Oops, sorry. So we go from here over to here, and we're no longer intercepting south migrating stocks. The pressure's taking off, the pressure's reduced, and we've got a very elegant solution. And it's worth noting that there's a ton of precedent for a solution like this. In the past, Canadian fisheries have been bought out by Alaska, and we're presently in Canada buying out fisheries to reduce the pressure. So this is a very common and simple solution. So this is something that is possible, but we're not waiting for it to happen. So this year, we're going to be raising key issues in the key markets for Alaska. We're laying the groundwork for some legal action, and we're keeping an eye on the ultimate solution, which is the protection of BC wild salmon at the treaty table.